Just talk about your time.
Okay. I want to talk about, I could go high to low.
So, after what felt like an eternity, UFC pay-per-view card is finally back. Such a long month of September. No pay-per-view cards. You didn't see our face, but we're back for another episode of Sharp Segments breaking down UFC 320. My name is Nico Sharp, and I'm here alongside my co-host, CJ Sharp. We're back into it, Siege. How we feeling? We're back at the pay-per-view card. Let's get into it.
It's been too long, man. It's been too long. I think we would skipped a card or two. So yeah, it's about due.
We missed UFC 319. I don't know how we did it. We missed UFC 319, but we're back into it. Hopefully, again, we keep saying this, but we're going to get every pay-per-view card, and we'll be busy here this month. We got another one later this month. But again, One step at a time. One step at a time. Overview. Talk to me about this card of UFC 320. What have you seen to it? Is there anything you want to highlight before we even dig in to all these fights like we always do?
Nothing particular, man. I'm just glad to get this show back on the road, man. It's been a long time coming. You know, there's a lot of exciting things coming up, but focusing on this specifically, no, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a fun one.
It looks to be a great card. And on paper, it looks to be a great card. We're going to go through every single fight in the main card and just kind of give you a breakdown of it, what stylistically we can expect. And then at the end of every fight, we're going to give you Sharp's picks and give you guys our prediction for who wins every single bout. All right, Siege, let's go ahead and get it started here. For the first fight, you have Joe Body Bags Pyfer taking on Abus Magomedov.
There you go. You did
So
it
yeah, I had to do a little Bruce Buffer, impersonation there. But again, Abus Magomedov ranked number 14, taking on Joe Body Bags Pyfer. We've seen a little bit from both. Body Bags not ranked for Joe Pyfer, but yet Abus has that 14 next to his name. CJ, kind of walk me through this first bout of the main card.
Yeah, man. I think it's going to be a fun one. You know, it's a great way to start the card. You have an up and coming guy like Joe Pyfer. You know, his last time out, he had a pretty big task in front of him, and he overcame. And I'm on the Pyfer train now, man. I was a little on the rocks last time out, you know, but Joe Pyfer's looking real good.
He's had a couple of scary fights, and so I mean, I remember I was kind of getting on the train, but then that Marc-Andre Barriault fight, I was like, whoa, this guy is terrifying. And then after the Kelvin Gastelum fight, the first round I was like, okay, yes, this is my guy. And then he faded in round 2 and 3, and it kind of was like, all right, well, is he really that scary, or is it after round 1 not that scary guy? And then you have Abus Magomedov, comes in as the plus 200 favorite to Joe Body Bags, minus 250. As we speak right now, those will obviously change. Right. It's going to be an interesting bout, right? I mean, you look at Abus, he's fought a couple guys that, gotten his name rattled in there, but it's weird that after a win against Gastelum and a win against Marc-Andre Barriault, and just came up short against Jack Hermanson after a unanimous decision. So we went all 5 rounds of Hermanson, and you're still not ranked. And you're still not even in the top 15 for Body Bags. I know he's had an issue with it, but CJ, I mean, do you think he should be ranked? I mean, I feel like after that kind of resume, cracking the top 15 makes sense.
I think so too, but I kind of like when they kind of slow pitch these guys a little bit to us too, because some guys get hustled along way too quick, and you never really get a chance to build that guy and see what he could become. And they spark out real quick, So I'm glad to see that they're bringing them along slowly and see how this is really going to pan out. The Gastelum fight, and I hear you there, he came in strong and, then he kind of fizzled out. I wonder how much of that was an adrenaline dump. Was it cardio that played a factor? Was it just, Kelvin Gastelum was a big name for anybody. And he pulled it out, and it was a little bit of a struggle, but there's not a whole lot of guys that walk through Kelvin Gastelum either, no matter how long he's been around. So I don't know if I'm really willing to count him out just yet. I was just impressed that he pulled out the W against a guy like that. That's a high caliber fighter, and nothing against Magomedov. It kind of feels like a little bit of a setback. It's just as far as notoriety is concerned, because when you get a guy like that, you think, okay, who else is he going to get now? Magomedov's not a nobody, but I thought he'd be getting somebody ranked that could potentially, you could bump a number off of, and that's not really how it went down. But he's still in the main card, so there's still that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if after this fight, it surely will get him on the rankings in the top 15. But talking a little bit about Abus, I mean, he had a big win against Michael Pereira. He beat Bruno Ferreira. I mean, in that Bruno fight, he just had such a bigger, I mean, frame where he was just much bigger than Bruno, had a longer reach, just kind of was made it easy. That Michael Pereira fight was a little bit better, but we've seen Michael Pereira just kind of flow in and out of being relevant. Just hasn't really had that.
Yeah.
But what he can do for Abus is he mixed up really well against Michael Pereira. He went for a couple takedowns. He was flowy. He got a takedown early. I think it was in that first round and 2 minutes in. He got the takedown, controlled it a little bit, which could be a stylistic question mark for Joe Pyfer.
Yeah, true. And when you fight a guy like Pereira, you're really engaging in a mixed martial arts fight. The guy, I don't even know if you call it mixed martial arts at that point. The guy is just awkward. He's all over the place. He's going to flip on top of you. He's going to do some capoeira in there. He's going to do a lot of weird stuff. But yeah, to pull out something like that, again, that's another guy that's not ranked. But you pull a win over a guy like that who's got all kinds of weird highlights, you'll definitely get some buzz going. So if nothing else, it's just unfortunate that Piper's not getting a ranked guy yet. You would think that. So who's, and I can't even off the top of my head, who's number 15 in that division right now? I mean, who can you potentially steal that spot from without, again, neither guy being ranked?
Middleweight, it's Kopylov. Roman Kopylov.
Wow, see, that's not even ringing a bell. And to the average fan, sometimes that matters, right? To the average fan, sometimes it's not even about beating the ranked guy. It's just having some buzz. Maybe this is the thing that gets him just enough buzz to put him over somebody like that.
And so Kopylov should ring a little bit of a bell. I mean, you don't remember, but he just fought Paulo Costa. He just fought Paulo
You're
Costa.
right.
Yeah,
You're right. Wow. Yeah.
And then he fought Chris Curtis before. So I
Yeah.
think you definitely know the name. You
Wow.
definitely
Yeah. I was drawing a blank on that one. You're right.
So
Sorry out there, guys. It's been a long night. There was a retirement party. A couple drinks were involved, so I might not all be there, but yeah.
yeah, I mean a familiar name, however. But even though we're going a little bit everywhere here, but
Right.
so kind of now we've kind of broken down a little bit, talked a little bit about style. Who takes this first fight in the main card?
I'm going with Piper. I think there's going to be a little more excitement. Not to take anything away from Abus, but I think there was just too much excitement in that last fight for him, and I think that's what it was. I didn't really see anything in there that really should have put his cardio in question, but he definitely did look gassed, right? So I'm going with Joe on this one. I think he's going to come out looking strong, and I'm hoping he finishes strong too.
Yeah, I mean, the one question for me is just that gas tank. But again, you look at Abus, not necessarily a guy who just has an unbelievable gas tank. So I think, but the one question I think that Abus would have to do, and that what I'd be worried about for Joe Pyfer, is the low kicks, the calf kicks first off for Abus, but then his ability to grapple, take down. What does Joe Pyfer's ground game look like? He's just this terrifying guy, loves to knock people out. I mean, he's yelling, he's screaming, he's doing all this scary stuff, but what happens when someone slows the pace down, which Abus is not really always known for doing, but he can mix it up, and we have seen him mix it up.
Yeah.
So I think that could be a question mark for Pyfer. Even with that being said, though, I am going to rock with body bags. I'm going to roll with body bags. I think they both have a cardio issue, so if Abus had a little more cardio, I'm picking Abus here. But I think with Pyfer being better striking, they both run out of gas pretty quickly. I think Pyfer could get it done. So we're going to go with the same one here. Go with the same one here. They're just a little bit of a question mark to me, though. I don't feel incredibly confident about it. But another fight I don't feel incredibly too confident on either is this next bout in Youssef, the Moroccan Devil, Zalal versus Josh Emmett. It's a pretty one-sided odds here. You have Youssef as a minus 550 to Josh Emmett plus 35. So again, Josh Emmett, a more notable name, number 8 in the ranking.
For sure.
Youssef, number 9. But definitely an up-and-comer for Zalal. CJ, what are we seeing here?
Yeah, unfortunately for my guy Josh, man, he's feels like he's kind of turning into a bit of a stepping stone. You mentioned the notoriety, right? He's got the name behind him and people recognize it, but it doesn't feel like he's stringing those wins together like he was at one point in time. He's had some tough losses. He's got a couple of wins here and there, but it's not really looking too good for Josh Emmett. This is feeling like a make or break just to keep him in the main card. I feel like at this point he's on the main card just on the strength of his name more than anything. It's not because of his, last 4 or 5 fights looking amazing either. It's somebody to fill the slot almost. He's always dangerous, scary guy. I don't want to be standing across the cage from him, very scary guy, but I don't know about Josh, man. Yeah, kind of a question mark there.
It definitely is. And I think when you look at Josh Emmett, it's one of those. Yeah, he's definitely always scary, right? I mean, one of Chef, if not the first fight Chef ever went to, was where Josh Emmett
Really?
knocked out Bryce Mitchell, and
Yeah.
Bryce Mitchell went into those convulsions. I mean, just a nasty
Scary
knock.
time. Scary guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But so another fight that I really compare this to for Emmett and how I look at stylistically was the fight he just had against Leron Murphy. Leron
Yeah.
Murphy's a guy who has good feet, good footwork. I
Yeah.
think for Zalal, he's going to have to try to stay on the outside, utilize that fork and just kind of touch him, stay out of range because you have to against a guy like Josh Emmett. But again, Josh Emmett's a guy who has that one punch thing. He's been there. I mean, yes, he is a bit of a stepping stone. He's kind of being a gatekeeper. I know we talk about that a few times on this podcast, but look at his last fights. I mean, Murphy, Bryce Mitchell, a guy named Ilya Taporia, if you've heard of him, Yair Rodriguez, and Calvin Cater. Right, so not just, I mean, his losses against Yair, Ilya, and Murphy, top guys in the division, right?
Yeah.
So he is, I mean, Emmett's been the perfect gatekeeper. It's like, okay, if you're legit, all right, you probably got me. But if you're not, I'm going to show you don't belong at the top of this division. And I think that's exactly what we could be seeing here.
And if memory serves me right, I mean, I didn't go back and rewatch it, but I thought I remember in the moment feeling like, dude, Josh Emmett might have this against Leron Murphy. Like he had it till he didn't, right? Didn't he get swept in that fight?
No, it went to decision.
It went to a decision.
Yeah.
What am I thinking of then? This was back in, again, maybe I'm misremembering, but I felt like that was a fight that he was winning until, so, okay, let's back it up. And then we're just kind of, talking in circles here, but that wasn't Leron Murphy's last fight, was it?
No, he had another fight between Josh Emmett's last fight, but not Murphy's. He just fought against the guy who he was about to lose to. That's the fight you're thinking of.
That's what I'm thinking of, right? Where he was getting his ass whooped and then he just knocked him out.
Aaron Pico, the grappler.
Yes.
He was grappling him early, and then
Poor
got
Aaron
swept.
Pico.
It seems like Pico was, yeah.
Golly, yeah, that's not what we're here to talk about, but poor Aaron Pico, you're right. Yeah, that was a tough one. Man.
Yeah.
Yes, very tough one. But yeah, no, he's fighting the top of the division for sure. So you can't write him off with that, but it is a gatekeeper style deal. And then again, it is the I don't want to say the quality, but if you take into account who he's fighting now, that's kind of the definition of a gatekeeper, right? It's like, all right, you fought the top guys, you came up short. So here's an up and coming guy. What can you do against this guy, right? And then so we'll just kind of keep you here unless you can start stringing it together again. But it's not looking like that so far,
Yeah, and I mean, this would be a huge opportunity. You have a guy like Zalal who's 29 years old. I mean, Emmett, you're 40 now. The clock's ticking, so it's it's not going to get any easier for him. And if you can't beat the number 9 guy, there's some real question marks on your side of the career. So again, it should be a great bout, but it's time for sharp picks, Siege. What happens in this fight?
I'm going to go with the safe one. I'm going to, I usually stick with my old guys, but I'm going to go with Yusef on this one. And Josh always regardless, like you said, he's 40. He always comes in shape. We never question if he's going to come in shape. We never question his cardio. He doesn't look like he's built like a 40-year-old dude, He always comes ready to go. It's just, is everything else syncing up? Is everything else coming in line? And I kind of feel like maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's losing a step or two and he's getting caught more and more, So I'm going to go with Yusef on this one.
Unfortunately, I am going to agree. We're on the same page here again. But I just think it just seems like a perfect style from what we just saw with Leron Murphy. I think Zalal did the same thing. I mean, we saw for Yusef, the way he fought Calvin Cater, just always staying on the outside, stay on the perimeter. I mean, he outpointed Cater just by his elusiveness and footwork. And I think a guy like Josh Emmett, who's a little more flat-footed, right, just kind of wants to find a telephone booth and just staying and bang. I don't think Youssef's gonna do that at all. I think he has to use his front kicks up the middle, and then behind it, he usually goes for a takedown. He kind of mixes it up pretty well. Again, I just don't think he's gonna want to stand in front of him, and I think his style, I mean, perfectly fits that. So I'm gonna go with the Moroccan Devil. Give me Youssef there, and then now we're going to a little bit of an interesting one. More household names for sure. We have a light heavyweight bout between Yuri Prochazka and Khalil Roundtree Jr. So again, guys who are seeming to fight in the same circles, but finding each other for the first time. This one has fireworks written all over it.
What's going on with the light heavyweight division, man? It's getting exciting again. It's been a good long minute before I've been excited about this. Is like the third or fourth string, and you know, maybe not all credit, but tons of credit to Alex Pereira to reinvigorate this division, right? Because things were not, they just weren't looking great. It was just, they kind of felt like throwaways. They kind of felt like placeholders, like, all right, we got to have a light heavyweight fight in here. But the light heavyweight division is coming alive again. It's very exciting. It kind of feels like when John Jones left, he kind of sucked all the air out of the room. You know, he's gone, and it's like, we didn't give a shit about anybody left behind. It felt like everybody was just kind of fighting for scraps, but we have some real legit contenders now, you know? And I wasn't, not that I wasn't a fan of Yuri when he was the champ, but it was just kind of like, again, the belt was just kind of left like, here you guys go, somebody do something with it, you know? And he picked it up and he was there for a little bit. I'm more excited about Yuri now than I was when he actually was champ. This fight feels like if it wasn't for the two fights after it, this could be a main event fight or a fight night main event fight for sure. You know, so this is going to be a very exciting matchup. Yuri looked amazing his last time out. There's not a whole lot of guys that we see in between fights that we feel like evolve much. It's like you kind of know what you're going to get. Maybe they get a little quicker. Maybe they turn this or that. I'm not really sure what happened with Yuri in his last fight, but he looked like he turned over a whole new leaf. He looked fluid. He looked great. He looked like a brand new scary Yuri, which was really, really fun to see. You know, and then you got Khalil coming out here, and yeah, who doesn't want to see Khalil fight? Khalil's going to give an exciting fight no matter who he's up against. You know, whether he's eating shots from Alex or whatever the case may be, you know, it's going to be a good one.
I mean, absolutely. And what's funny is I want to hit a couple points that you talked about. Which one, it just seems like Yuri is continuing to get better. That maybe thanks to his unconventional training habits. I don't know if you've seen the whole thing about he likes to run sprints and run with holding his breath. He doesn't breathe. He just holds his breath and does sprint.
I don't know how that
over
works.
And over again. And he's like, I'm going to work on my conditioning or cardio without breathing, which I guess, I mean, if you're tired and you're not able to breathe, I'm assuming it only gets easier from there. So I've never done it, so I can't say for myself. See, I don't know if you've ever ran while holding your breath.
Not recently. Not really. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a
couple
minute,
years.
yeah.
I mean, just an outrageous training habit there. We see a lot of guys do a lot of crazy things. That might be up there for the crazy thing I've seen. And then talk about Khalil a little bit. That Alex Pereira loss, actually, I felt like revived his career. You know, a guy who is 10-5 in the UFC. That's not a very good record. You're winning 2, losing 1. That usually doesn't give you a matchup for success. But here he is in a almost, I mean, number 1 contender fight. Yeah, right? But it's also it's also an interesting situation though, because it also is all like a title eliminator, like almost like what's next for the loser, because now that they've both lost to Alex Pereira, they both kind of are in a question mark, like, all right, well, we both really need to win this because we've lost to the other top guys. And so what happens with the loss? Because you believe Uncle Live, if he loses, he'll be back at the top. Or if he wins, then Pereira will fight one of these guys again, where he's already beat Yuri twice and he already beat Khalil. So, you know, there's a lot of different stipulations that come. This is a heavy fight.
Yeah. There's so many things that have to fall in line. I think with a win, it's still a tougher road for Prochazka than it is for Khalil. At least that's what I think, because like you said, he just lost. So even with a win on Saturday, it kind of feels like Pereira has to lose in order for him to get his way back to the top of the mountain, right? Because why would you throw him out there again, you know? And there's other guys, but then what do you do with Khalil? Because Khalil's lost to Pereira. If Pereira pulls it off, do you just automatically throw Roundtree up there now? You know, it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. When you're a guy like Alex and you've beat guys twice, it's like, you know, you're almost for the sake of the division moving on, you're almost hoping that doesn't pan out for Alex, right? But yeah, man, either one of these guys are going to be great, man. Khalil's a very unconventional guy. His stories and everything about him is so unconventional. It doesn't fit who he is, the killer that we see in this cage, you know? Outside of it, he's a super nice guy, seems very approachable, doesn't seem like he would take your head off, even though clearly that's what he does best, right? So, yeah, man, it's going to be a fun one. And yeah, these guys keep evolving. And Roundtree's up there in age too, isn't he?
Who?
Roundtree's up there. Oh, he's only 35. Why did I think he was older? That's not bad. He's a young kid, man. But yeah, no, no, yeah, I'm excited for this one. I think this is going to be a fireworks.
It definitely has to be. And you got two different kind of strikers, but different styles of strikers. I mean, again, yeah, you have Yuri always being weird. I mean, just watching his head movement against Jamal Hill, it makes me dizzy.
Yes.
You know, he just
Yes.
always, it's always just like around. He's always just so
Yeah.
fluid. He's tough to get a hand on. You know, not only is his striking good, but it's also just hard to land because he's so unconventional. His head movement, it's not just like, oh, Philly shell, tuck. Like, it's like, I mean, it's bouncing around. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And then you have Khalil Roundtree, who has those front kicks up the middle. He's pretty fluid. And you can only imagine how many low kicks and calf kicks are going to be done between both of them. I mean, they love their calf kicks. They're going to establish that early. The legs are going to be swollen after this one, you can only imagine. But again, this should be a banger. A tough one to call, but we're going to have to now for Sharpest Pick, Siege. Who takes this, what has to be a number one contender fight?
You know, I knew we were going to get to this part of it, and for some reason, I'm still not prepared. I'm on the fence, man. I thought I had my mind made up, but I really don't. Again, I think it's a tougher road. Kind of like Yuri in this one, man. I really liked him last time out against Hill. I'm not a Hill fan anyway, and so maybe I shouldn't be giving Yuri a whole lot of credit for looking amazing against Hill because I just don't see anything there. But he just looked so good the last time out. I think just on the strength of that last fight, I'm gonna go with Yuri.
I really thought you were going to go Khalil there. I really did. The way that this card was going, I thought you were going to go Khalil there. I don't know. We're going to think differently because I'm picking Yuri too. I just feel like, although Khalil's won 6 of his last bouts, there's something, a comfortability that I have with Yuri where it just feels like he's going to get the job done. Right? Roundtree is just, and yes, but I mean, speaking of looking good against Jamal Hill, Khalil Roundtree looks great against Jamal Hill. He struck really well. A lot of low kicks early. He just seemed to have the faster and better hands. I mean,
Yuri's just a tough puzzle to solve, and I think that's what it is. He's such a tough puzzle to solve. It's like you don't know where he's going to be at. There's even times where he looks like he's damn near falling over, and he's throwing these weird hooks from these weird angles while he's dodging these punches. They're just, if there's an opportunity for him to make contact, he's going to light you up. And that's what's so weird. It's just so, there's not a whole lot of guys that have dealt with that successfully. I don't know if Khalil's the guy to deal with it. And then he's long, he's big, he's physical, you know, and he's well-rounded. I've never really seen him on the ground and think, oh man, he's going to get done in here. He holds his own. He's really well-rounded everywhere. And sorry, not to speak over you. I was just kind of, you know, going off on that a little bit, but that's why I'm picking Yuri.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And you talked about the reach, 80-inch reach for Yuri and only 76.5. Not a crazy difference, but there is a reach difference there for Yuri, which he always seems to have the advantage. I'm interested to hear what we think here. I have pretty strong opinions on this one. You have the co-main. You have the belt going in the bantamweight, the 135ers. Corey Sandman Sandhagen taking on Merab the Machine Dvalishvili. Walk me through it. Co-main, we've talked a lot about both these guys, to be honest, and so kind of walk me through when they get put together.
I don't really know if there's anything to elaborate on. I feel like if you've seen even one or two of Merab's fights, you know what he's going to do. And it's always the exact same, but what can you do about it? Nobody could ever do anything about it. And the same thing goes for Corey, right? You've seen one or two of his fights. You know he's a striker. You know he's an amazing striker. You know he really puts it together. You know what it's going to be. It's going to be, you know, the grappler versus the striker. And I think history tells us it usually doesn't go well for the striker. It's beautiful. It's who doesn't want to see a good striking match? That's the funnest shit. That's what we all tune in for. But it's what works, and grappling works, man. It's tried and true. It stands the test of time. I think it's going to be a good one, and I don't see Marab going in there trying to trade shots with them. They'll touch him up a little bit here and there, but it's always to make an entrance. It's always to get that double leg or whatever he can get. But he's a machine, man. They don't call him that for no reason. The dude is relentless, and it's terrifying.
It is a tough to say, and it's like, because again, Merab is the machine. He just never seems to be in trouble. I mean, look at Umar Nurmagomedov, right? A very tough style matchup for him. It's just another guy who has really good grappling. You can only imagine what he goes through in the Nurmagomedov camp. And
Yeah. You
Merab
could argue that you could argue he's the better, well-rounded fighter,
sure, yeah.
right? But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. It didn't mean.
Yeah, and it just seemed like even like people have their moments. Even when you're losing a fight, you have your moments. Merab never seemed to be in trouble. Where Umar would have his moments of like trying to backpack Merab, or he even had his back, and Merab is smiling, punching him, or he was like trying to drag him down, and Merab's doing this like stand-up thing, like, oh, this is just too easy. Like it's just like he doesn't seem to be in trouble. And your guy fighting a guy like Umar Nurmagomedov, but to give Sandhagen a little bit of credit here, Sandhagen was able to get up against Umar Nurmagomedov. His takedown defense is no slouch either. He was able to get up, but I don't know. It's just his takedown defense is great. His ability to get up is also pretty good.
For sure. For sure.
But it's Merab, and I'm not trying to give away my picks too early, but I feel really passionate about this one. It's Merab. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, nothing against Sandhagen, but I mean, it's a good and bad stat, right? But 5 of his last 6 fights have gone to decision as well, right? We talk about Merab being a decision merchant, and then he pulls off the sub against O'Malley. But if it's going the distance, I'm trusting Merab's conditioning and ability to go 5 rounds.
Yeah.
His gas tank, it's unbelievable. It doesn't wear out. So if there's going to be 2 guys who go to decision, I feel like I'm picking Merab 10 out of 10 times.
For sure. Yeah. That's your safe best bet, man. And maybe we could. There were some fights early on that I was like, ooh, I don't know about this. Some very scary fights for him. And the way he just walked through that fights, and for me, the Umar fight that you were just talking about, that was the final straw for me. Where I was like, I'm all in. I don't care what we're putting up. My money's on Merab every single time, dude. Because to get through a guy like that, nobody wanted to fight Umar. And the guys that did, it looked really, really bad. And for him to make it wasn't even a close fight. That's the other scary thing too, because I thought it for sure. I don't remember what our picks were at the time, but I remember going to that going, man, I don't know about this one. This is a scary one. I know who he's faced up until now, but this is the first time I felt like, wow, he's in real trouble, and he made it look too easy, way, way too easy. It was pretty embarrassing, So yeah, we skipped ahead to the picks already, but how do you doubt Merab at this point in his career? That grappling is insane, man. His grappling, his gas tank, his cardio, it can't be with. It's insane.
It's next level. And I feel like the only fight that I want to see, because I rewatched that Umar fight. It was a little bit closer than I remember it. I remember Umar not having any success. He had a little bit of success. It was closer than I remember it being. That's the only fight though I would care to see again. Because again, going to our picks, I don't think Sandhagen has anything for him, right? And maybe I'm overlooking Corey. I like Sandman, but we're talking about Rob. Yeah. It's tough. I'm kind of being very one-sided here, but that's where I'm at. I think Merab is just that good. And so with that being that easy of a pick from me, what do you want to see from Merab at 135? Does he go up to 145 after beating Umar maybe again? Or does he just keep around and keep wearing out this division? I know there was talks of a catchweight bout between him and Pantoja. Maybe a crazy take here. I think he runs through Pantoja as well. I don't know. I'm very high on Merab. I like Pantoja. His jiu-jitsu is really good. But the gas tank for Merab is just so high. But again, I know that's a question that kind of talks through it. But man, what do we need to see from Merab? What happens next, I guess?
I don't think we really see any great competition from Merab unless he goes up. I don't think going down is going to get it done. Nothing against Pantoja, like you were saying earlier. But I don't think we really start seeing. because I think that's when there starts being a little bit more. I can't even say a delta because his skills are just next level. I just think the only way to nullify some of that is taking on bigger competition. And that's what I would want to see, you know? Because you go up 10 pounds, man, them boys are a lot bigger up there at 145. So I don't really think there's a whole lot of excitement. He can lap the division, and that's always fun. You know, we've seen guys do that, and you lap the division a couple times. Adesanya did that. Uh, Volkanovski did that a few times. You know but it's been done, and it's just will they give him the opportunity? I feel like Marab's working his way into the good graces of Dana and company to where they're hopefully going to let him explore a little more. When you're the guy that shows up at the drop of a hat the way he does, they tend to be a little more lenient. Maybe they give him the shot. I'm not even against there for me. I always feel like there's this thing where like if you're a champion, you're going up, you have to fight the champion. I don't really care that. If you're moving up and you fight somebody in the top three, top five, that's still an exciting fight for me too. It doesn't, I don't feel like there has to be a belt on the line for me to get excited about it. The fact that you're moving up and fighting bigger, scary competition, I'm going to tune in for that. But there seems to be this thing where like, no, if you move up, you have to fight the champ. Early on, even though it didn't really happen back in the day, that was happening. When Anderson Silva was the guy, he never got a chance to fight John Jones, but he was fighting scary guys at light heavyweight, running through them. But that's exciting, you know? So if you don't want to give him the shot at the belt, fine. There's still really fun fights for him to have at 145, but then don't make him vacate too. It's always weird, right? Some
Yeah.
guys, they let them play around as much as they want. The other guys are like, no, you got to vacate. Why does he have to vacate? As active as he is, I don't think Marlon has any problem going up and fighting number two or number three, coming back down defending and doing this whole song and dance. The dude loves to fight. So let him have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, talk about fun. Let's talk about some fun fights, and then we'll move on to the main event. But just imagine 145. I mean, again, not top three, but Brian Ortega, a bigger dude, jiu-jitsu, solid striking. What he's done against the top champions, not great, but those. I mean, that's the Volkanovskis of the world. Again,
Yeah.
just a fun stylistic matchup. Yair, Diego Lopez.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
whoa, you know, like now we're like, okay, if he goes up against Diego Lopez now, what does that look like? Because now
Right.
Lopez is a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So again,
For
just
sure.
throwing that in the air. I wanted to at
Yeah,
least
man.
touch
And
on that.
that's gonna sell tickets. It's gonna sell tickets. And I don't feel
Yeah,
like it tarnishes I don't think it tarnishes the legacy of said champion, whoever that may be, whether it's Marab or anybody else. You're moving up, you're taking a shot, you know? And I understand that the reason they don't like to do that is because you feel like it ties up the division. And that goes
right.
back to our point then. Then don't make it be a championship fight. Let him move up, let him fight somebody scary at the next weight class. Let him earn that shot. You know, you're gonna get butts and seats doing that. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about butts and seats here with this main event. We got the rematch. We have the contender Alex Pereira taking on Magomed Ankalaev again. It is the rematch. So many things to talk about here. I mean, again, stylistically, just them fighting again. What that first fight had, kind of a weird one. Walk me through it.
Yeah, it was weird, and I didn't know how to feel about it in the moment because I felt like I was seeing everything that we love about Alex just get completely shut down. And so, you know, the fan in me does what most fans do, go, "Oh, he wasn't in it. Oh, his heart wasn't in it," and trying to throw him a lifesaver. And then when I went back and rewatched it, and another time I was like, I don't. That's not what we were seeing. We were seeing we were seeing things thrown at Alex that he didn't have an answer for. And that's really all it came down to. And we all do that when we're fans and our fighters, things aren't going their way for our picks. We tend to make excuses for them and not give the guy doing all the work the credit they deserve. Magomedov deserved a lot of credit for that. He had a great game plan. He executed it perfectly. He executed it flawlessly. And he just, you know, Alex didn't have an answer for it, which makes for a really interesting fight because we only know Alex to do what Alex does. And so if it's gotten him this far and it didn't work, does he completely throw that game plan out the window and come back with something new? We haven't seen that up until this point, right? Does Alex start counterpunching a lot more? Does he kind of just lay back? it seemed like the issue last time out was that he couldn't get any forward offense going. He was always on his back foot. Magomedov was in his face the whole time, pressing the action in his face, didn't give him any space to breathe, and it kind of feels like he just drowned him, you know. And it wasn't even in the typical sense for a guy like that, where he has him on the ground just beating the hell out of him. There was some of that happening, but he just seemed like he couldn't breathe. He couldn't get any offense going. It was masterful, man. It was great to watch.
And I love that you touched on the masterful, because again, you're watching in real time and you feel a certain way, but then you rewatch it and you're realizing how good Ankalaev just really was. You know, it was just him, you know, being either too close or out of range. It was always one or the other. He never was going to let Pereira be right in his box, right? He was going to be inside, grappling, clinch, or just too close to really get any damage done to him, or he was out of range. But again, I think more likely he was on that front foot, putting the pressure on, put on Poatan. So it was just such a weird. And then he would work in the clinch against the fence, and it was Mark Goddard pulling them off, like, hey, separate. Like that was very uncharacteristic of a referee of that caliber. So again, it just had a lot of weird things too. I remember watching it in I was like, what is really going on? Because again, Poatan had no answer, and nothing really was going his way. Where we see him, you know, he goes like this. You know, that's how a fight goes, especially at this level. But just nothing really seemed to click that night. So it could be just, hey, you know, it wasn't my best night, and it was his best night. You know, we hear people talking about all the time. It's a real thing, though. How much do you think that plays a factor into it, or do you think that it's just literally Ankalaev mastering a game plan?
You know, and not to backpedal here, because the other thing that I felt like I was taking into consideration, and I always wondered about that, even before this fight, was, is he fighting too much? I mean, he's saving all these cards, and it's great, and he's putting on amazing fights, but is it too much? You know, when guys get to the top of the mountain, a lot of them talk about how it's hard to keep up that same level of not intensity, but just willpower. You know, it's like, I've been here, I've done this. How do you keep getting up and getting yourself motivated to do these things when you're expected to win? And sometimes a loss like this is what you need to kind of put you back in the right headspace to, you know, to push forward and grind it out. And okay, shit, that guy has my number. Maybe that's what it was. But I feel like this will answer a lot of that. What do you feel like another loss does for Alex here, if that were to happen?
It is an interesting question, because, I mean, well, first off, going off your point, this will be his. So going back to April of 2023, right? So about 2 years ago, we're in the later stage of 2025 now, but let's say middle stage. This will be his 8th fight since April of 2023. I mean, you talk about fighting too much. I mean, that's a real thing. But a loss, his stock dives, right? I mean, it has to, because now you have a guy, once you lose twice, right? The same thing we said about Yuri, but holding up the division, and now it's like, well, what's next for Yuri if he wins, because you don't even want to see that again. Same would go for Alex, right? I mean, losing to the same guy twice. If you go down, right? If you lose and Yuri wins, right? And you fight that guy, Yuri again, or you fight the next best guy, what happens if he wins that next fight, the number 1 contender bout? And then Ankalaev is still champ. Trilogy, you don't really see those happen all too often, unless your name's Max Holloway, and then you fight both.
You gotta fight your ass off to get those. Yeah, you have to really earn those. And when they happen, we all agree, like, okay, yeah, I want this, you know?
Yeah.
But you have to really, really earn it. So that would be a tough one. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like I've heard Alex on more than one occasion talk about potentially retiring. Am I making that up, or was that? I feel like that was happening at one point in time, and who would blame him, right? I mean, the guy has done everything that he needs to do. Where else is there to go from here? We don't want to see Alex at heavyweight. That's not, you know, they kind of teased it, and it was kind of fun to talk about him and John Jones at one time. You know, the two monsters at the top of their division. I don't think anybody really wants to see him just kind of lingering around at heavyweight. Maybe he hangs it up. Maybe he, you know, this is it. I feel like I've heard him talk about it more than one occasion, and I don't know, does he do that win or lose? If he does win, it's the same conundrum. We're back in there. He's kind of beat everybody worth beating in that division. Does he go out on a high horse, which is kind of the way to do it? We don't get to see that very often in our sport, but it's a pretty cool way to do it too. You know, I wouldn't be mad at him for it.
Yeah, that's actually, like, even with a win, I didn't even think about it. Yeah, he could just ride off, because you have Carlos Ulberg coming up. Maybe Khalil wins. That was the first exciting fight. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing really that just moves the needle. Because again, he changed his life, right? 8 fights in 2 years, and most of those coming out of wins. A lot of those for the title, a lot of those winning. You made a lot of money. You just changed your life forever. I think you're pretty set. You're, I think, 38 years old, 37, 30. I think he's 38. It's one of those things where it might be time to hang it up if he loses this one for sure. Just because you don't know what that route looks like. Again, you don't want him to see a gatekeeper or anything like that. You don't want to see that for Pereira.
No. Yeah,
But
his brand is too big for that. There's no way. I would hope the UFC wouldn't do that to him, but more than anything, I hope he wouldn't do that to himself.
yeah, I agree. I think I'd say with the win, he probably will fight again, but with a loss, it might get rough. But I don't know about you, but I feel like I might be dancing around the bush. I'm coming up with a lot of conversation because I don't know who to pick for this one. So maybe I'm trying to avoid Sharp's picks here for this main event. But it's gonna happen at some point. We gotta just rip the Band-Aid off, Siege. I mean, what's the call here? Who takes this main event home?
I feel like the answer is obvious. I just my my heart is. I'm just going 2 different directions here. My heart is going Pereira, but my mind is telling me Magomedov. We don't have to drag this on too long. I'm gonna go with Pereira for the upset. I hope it's not the smart pick, and I know it's not. How exciting would it be to see somebody at this stage of the game and this caliber of fighter, been doing this long, somehow reinvent himself, somehow figure this puzzle out. And I want to see the happy ending, man. That'd be a beautiful thing. There's still plenty of fights for Magomedov. Still a lot, he's got a lot more tread on the tires. I want to see the storybook ending, man. I don't think it's a smart pick, but I'm going with Alex on this one.
And I'm completely with you with the heart. I just don't think I'm like you. I just have to pick with my head here. I gotta stay away from the emotions. I'm gonna go Magomed Ankalaev.
Okay.
I just feel like
Fair.
just stylistically in what he did, it just we always talk about it, right? So Pereira, you think, he's gonna work on the grapple, he's gonna work on the clinch work. But when someone's done that their entire life, you can't just play catch up in less than a year, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where I'm at. I think Ankalaev is going to try to do the same things. Pereira will be better. Poatan will have made the adjustments, but I don't think Ankalaev is just sitting there saying, okay, well, I think I'll be all right. I'll just do the same thing I did last year, So I'm going to ride with Ankalaev there. I just think he gets it done. And I think it could be not the most exciting. I think he can just, do the same thing. Clinch work, distance. I'm sure, like we talked about, Pereira's already working on a counter, expecting him to have that forward pressure. So I'm assuming Ankalaev might switch it up, just try to keep him off balance. And I think just like we talked about in Yuri and Khalil, just being uncomfortable in there, just trying to make Poatan uncomfortable throughout that fight. And then like he did in the first fight. But I'm riding Ankalaev there. Is that our only different pick of the night? So we have to wait.
I think so.
So we have to wait for the main event to see who wins this one, which is still unfortunate. I like when we have completely different answers.
Yeah.
But these past few main cards, we've been having the same answers, man. We kind of a little boring here, but
Yeah. We need a little parity.
We need something. We need something to switch it up. But all right,
this main event might be it though, man. Because this main event, I'm not gonna double back. It's not a smart pick. I don't disagree with anything you've said. I'm hoping for the upset. I'm hoping, so we'll see.
All righty. Well, Siege, anything else? UFC 320 is finally here. Pay-per-view's here. Any last final words before we hop off here? And then we'll be seeing us very soon here with the fight, the card at the end of the month. October 25th is the next big card. Anything you got for us before we hop off here for the day?
No, man. Let's make this happen. No more long breaks.
That's it. Thank you, CJ, for so much for joining me. Sharp segments here once again, talking about UFC 320. We'll be back here for UFC 321. Aspinall, gone. We talked about Nurmagomedov. He takes on Bautista. Mackenzie Dern's the co-main event. We'll be back in for that one. Don't you worry. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. You guys agree, disagree with any of our picks, and why. Let us know. Drop a follow, subscribe. Come hang out with us every single month. It's been Nico Sharp, CJ Sharp here for another episode of Sharp Segments, UFC 320. We'll see you guys for UFC 321.